What if Honda took one of the most iconic trailblazers from the past and brought it into the modern era with all the refinement riders crave, yet still kept the raw, go-anywhere spirit that made it legendary? Today on AM Autos, we're exploring the buzz around the 2026 Honda XR400R, a name that hasn't been in Honda's lineup for decades, yet continues to spark excitement and speculation among riders worldwide. Stick with us through the entire video, because we've got a special surprise at the end that every XR fan will really appreciate. Asterisk, before we imagine the future, let's first understand the heritage. The original Honda XR400 was produced from the mid-1990s into the early 2000s and became one of the most respected off-road enduro motorcycles of its time. Powered by a roughly 397cc air-cooled single-cylinder four-stroke engine, it delivered around 34 horsepower and 33 newton-meters of torque. Not massive numbers, but perfectly tuned for trail riding, technical terrain, and sustained adventure riding. Auto evolution, the XR400R was loved for its simplicity, durability, and predictable performance. With a carburetor and a 5-speed manual gearbox, it wasn't a complicated machine. It was a tool. Its long travel suspension with Showa forks and a Pro-Link rear shock gave it trail-ready capability, and the tall 21-inch front wheel and 18-inch rear made it confident in rough terrain. This was a bike you rode up to the start of a trail without hesitation, knowing it could handle whatever was ahead. CycleChaos.com over the years, the XR400R earned the reputation not just for toughness, but for its soul. Riders who restored these bikes, modified them, or built custom desert machines often speak about the XR400R with almost reverential enthusiasm. One builder took a stock XR into a Baja-style machine with LED lighting, oversized tank, aggressive tires, and modern suspension tweaks, a tribute to how versatile the platform still feels even decades later. Bite-bound, but the XR400R hasn't been in Honda's official lineup for years, and parts are increasingly sourced secondhand or through the aftermarket. Still, countless riders swear by the model's durability and simplicity in online discussions. Enthusiasts frequently describe the XR as virtually indestructible if maintained well, with riders sharing stories of decades-old bikes still going strong. Reddit, so where does the 2026 Honda XR400R idea come from? Right now, Honda hasn't formally published full specifications or official announcements for a 2026 XR400R model. What does exist are speculative videos, enthusiast rumors, and concept discussions in the motorcycling community that imagine what a modern revival could look like. Updates like fuel injection, liquid cooling, lighter frames, 6-speed gearboxes, and modern electronics are talked about often in fan videos, such as one that claims a comeback might include a digital dash, LED lighting, and fuel injection tuned for trail power delivery. YouTube, the chatter around a potential 2026 XR400 revival blends nostalgia with practical expectations. Fans want a bike that preserves the original's lightweight, nimble handling while updating power delivery and reliability for modern standards. A mid-sized trail tool that's equally capable exploring single-track ripping forest roads or taking on multi-day off-road adventures. A modern XR400R would likely be aimed at riders who don't want the complexity or weight of large adventure motorcycles, but still want respectable performance and off-road capability. Asterisk, let's imagine what that could mean. First, the engine. While the original's approximately 397cc air-cooled single made around 34 horsepower, a 2026 version could move to fuel injection or even a mild liquid cooling system. That would mean smoother cold starts, cleaner emissions, and more. Consistent performance at altitude or temperature extremes, all without sacrificing the torque and character that made the original beloved. Electric start would almost certainly be part of the package, addressing one of the common criticisms of vintage XRS where kickstarting was required. Auto Evolution modern suspension will be another leap forward. The original Showa 43mm fork and ProLink rear shock were adjustable and rugged for their time, but a 2026 XR400R might benefit from long travel, inverted forks up front, and a more tunable rear shock that can be easily adapted to both trail excursions and loaded touring. Keeping a tall front wheel in long travel would retain the XR's inherent off-road confidence, while more modern damping technology would make rough terrain feel more composed and predictable. Asterisk, electronics would also play a role. Instead of a pure carburetor and CDI ignition, a modern XR400R could integrate ride-by-wire throttle, switchable ABS, and even selectable traction control, options that help riders adapt to slippery conditions without overwhelming them with unnecessary tech. A simple but clear TFT or LED instrument cluster with smartphone connectivity will bring the bike into the digital age without diluting its rugged identity. Asterisk. Another area where a modern XR400R could shine is weight and materials. Advances in frame design and materials mean it would be possible to build a chassis that's both stronger and lighter than the old steel cradle frame, improving handling and overall agility. Wheels and tires optimized for mixed terrain, 21-inch front and 8-inch rear, remain likely favorites, will preserve the bike's off-road essence while still being practical for paved segments between trailheads. Asterisk. What would this bike feel like on the trail? Imagine a machine that accelerates with a smooth, predictable torque curve, not explosive at the top end, but gutsy where you need it on loose rocks, steep climbs, and forest ruts. Its suspension absorbs chop and roots without bottoming out, and its geometry keeps the bike stable at speed yet nimble in tight single track. With modern brakes and slightly wider GP-style handguards, it feels confident even when terrain gets sketchy. Asterisk. In the broader motorcycle market, a revived XR400R would sit in a sweet spot, lighter and simpler than heavyweight adventure bikes, but more capable off-road than most commuter dual sports. It would appeal to riders who want a bike that's still fun to ride, not just a collection of electronics and modes. Riders who value character, adventure readiness, and a machine that feels like an extension of themselves. Asterisk, of course, none of this is confirmed by Honda yet, but what is clear is that the XR400R's legacy continues to inspire conversation and imagination. Videos on platforms like YouTube already discuss a possible XR400R return, complete with expected features, comparisons to competitors, and performance scenarios that riders dream about. Even if Honda takes its time with development or positions the bike differently, the enthusiasm tells us a revival will be welcomed by many. YouTube. So now for the surprise we promised at the beginning of this video. Here on AM Autos, we're launching a special episode series dedicated to legendary motorcycles that are rumored or expected to return, including the XR400R, XR600R, and other classics reimagined for modern riders. We'll explore the history, real versus speculative, specs, community builds, restoration stories, and expert commentary on how these bikes might shape the next decade of motorcycling. If you love motorcycles with heart and history, you won't want to miss it. Asterisk whether Honda officially confirms the 2026 XR400R or something inspired by it, the story is already unfolding, driven by passion, nostalgia, and the desire for a true, capable trail machine. From its roots as a mid-size off-road legend to its potential rebirth in a modern era, the XR400R continues to capture the imagination of riders around the world. Asterisk, and that's the story behind the 2026 Honda XR400R, a bike that might just prove the best part of tradition is seeing it evolve for the next generation. Stay tuned and keep the adventure alive right here on AM Autos.